it's really been an ongoing struggle trying to face chronic pain. I gave my life to the Lord as a very young child, and then I rededicated my life when I was 18. And yet there was always like this cloud hanging over me. Lord, I feel called to do this, or I feel called to do that, but how can I possibly do it when I'm sick all the time? And so there's that struggle of feeling that you are letting people down, or concerns that you can't walk in God's purpose for your life, and just an overwhelming sense of guilt and shame, and even just being a burden to people. I've got very angry, I have isolated myself, I have ignored it, I have felt guilt and shame, and that really came to a head about 4 years ago, which is when I first started coming to Mariners, and everything was just falling apart. I was literally hardly able to get up off the floor, and I thought that God was done with me. Trying to come to terms with, is God done with me? Is my life over? How can I even face tomorrow? Do I want to face tomorrow? And quite honestly, a lot of the time I didn't. And there was a light bulb moment for me that I refer to a lot when I talk to people. There was actually a visiting preacher here, and the topic of his sermon was interrupting your interruptions. And he went over so many different things that interrupt your life. And I believe that God was saying at that point, you need to interrupt these interruptions because you have taken your eyes off me. And you need to put your eyes back on me, and all the other things will work out. Not that they'll necessarily be physical healing or the other issues would resolve, but that everything else would be put into perspective. And that was the beginning of a journey for me of coming to acceptance of what my life was and is likely to be for the rest of my life, and how God can actually use that for His glory, which is amazing. So the closing of one door is so often followed by the opening of another door. In my case, it followed really quickly. And it's been into this amazing ministry called Living Waters, where we talk about what the Bible has to say about suffering and pain. Where is God in suffering and pain? How do I cope with the feelings I have that aren't resolved? How do I deal with the struggles, the anxiety, the depression, the feelings of shame or guilt, or just being a burden, of not wanting to tell people what's going on, and then just answering questions again and again that you can't answer. So that's what we deal with in the 8-week program. We can talk about different topics where people can connect in community. They can grow in community. We can laugh together. We can cry together. We can share resources, because chronic pain in the church really needs to be a two-pronged thing. So on the one side, we're wanting to tell people, if you live with chronic pain, God is not done with you yet. You're not forgotten. You are loved, unconditionally loved, and God still has a plan and purpose in your life. But we also want to say to the body of Christ that we are all members of that body, and when one member is not functioning properly, then the whole body suffers. So let's be aware of the struggles that we each have, and let's bring each other up together. I know, and I've seen in my life, that God does use all things for good if we allow Him to. It doesn't mean that He's causing pain. It doesn't mean that He's bringing it into our life. It doesn't mean we've done something wrong or that we're in sin. It doesn't mean that He has something special for us and therefore He's inflicting us with something that is hard to deal with. It just means that no matter what we go through, He can use it for His glory and for His good. And that is really amazing, and it's really powerful. So I get my hope from that. I don't know what tomorrow holds. I don't know what next week is going to be like. I certainly don't know what next year is going to be like. But what I do know is that every day that I'm still breathing, God can use for His glory. And that gives me hope.